Good morning, everyone. My name is Rob and I farm ugly. Welcome to my channel. My brother and I are going to set some end posts today on a little short stretch of fence right along the road. Going to hang a gate on it. So we got a couple nice straight end posts. They're pretty good sized, and when you pick them up, they're really big sized. They're very heavy. But I got to thinking I ought to show you where we get these posts. So I'm out where we have some of these trees. These are called hedge, we call them hedge trees, but their proper name is actually Osage orange. And they have these things on them. Everyone calls them hedge apples. They will fall to the ground and the cattle will eat them. They'll stand there chewing on these things and slobber like crazy. But anyway, those are hedge apples. Not to be confused with road apples. Let's look at this tree here. This is a hedge. And this is where we would get our posts from. See this part of the tree right there? That would make a nice end post. That's not quite as big as what we're dealing with today. That one right there would make a decent line post. Even going up in the branches, this one would make a nice line post. What we normally do is you'll dig these trees out because they're pretty much a menace. They spraddle all out. They have thorns on them. They grow in the pastures. They grow in fence rows. You dig them out, and then when they're on the ground, then you start measuring off and cutting posts out of them. I make 9-foot end and second post, the first and the second post on your fence. And then those I make them 9 feet long, so they're set in the ground deeper. They're more solid. Then line posts, I cut them at 7-foot length. People cut end posts and line posts 1 foot longer than what I do and have done my whole life. We get by fine with the 9-foot and the 7-foot. Sometimes it's hard to find a straight enough length of a 7-foot tree limb or whatnot to get a straight line post or semi-straight line post. But anyway, this is where our hedge posts come from. And hedge is a very dense, heavy, it does not rot. They will last 50 years. Sometimes they only last about 30 years, but they seem to resist insects and rotting. They're very strong. It's a very good tree to make posts out of. There's getting to be less and less hedge trees around in the area. Hedge posts at sales bring a lot of money anymore. $30 a piece for line posts. It's getting pretty crazy because there's very few areas where there's many hedge posts left to harvest. So, but better get busy and start setting posts.
Got a deep enough hole, Rob?
Yeah, just loose dirt in there. About 4 inches of loose dirt.
Can't really see down there, but luckily you dug the hole first with that. But that's a big post going in that hole. How much you think that post weighs, Rob?
I'd say 200 pounds.
That's a big hedge post.
It's so dense.
And we're trying to put it in line with that whole fence there. And then the goal will be to line it up with that over there too. We'll see how this turns out. So Rob, is that tampon stick older than you?
Yes.
Pull it out of the ground there.
Might not be older than me.
But it's 50 years old.
That's a piece for like putting handrail or whatnot to concrete.
Oh, yeah.
It's got holes drilled in it.
Oh yeah,
like
right.
A mounting plate. Probably had threads.
And how to get broken on that edge?
I don't know. My brother was using it and it broke.
Okay, now we were just commenting that I had broken the tampon stick that Dad made years ago. But I want to point out how nicely it fits against a post now with that piece broken out.
Especially in a tight hole.
Yeah, see? So we had to drive back home to the shop. Luckily, it's only a mile and a half because you need the brace poles. You just can't remember everything. Got a whole truck bed full of stuff. Hey, Rob, so you don't put a level on the posts or anything like that when you're putting them in. How come?
Eyeball measured, best kind of measure there is.
Well, you have to, because the posts aren't exactly, straight up and down. And what matters, especially on a road like this, a busy road where everybody's can see it, does it look like it's in line and straight up and down?
Yeah, that's just gotta make it, just have to make it visually look level. Like this and this appear to be level with one another.
Right, right. And then we'll put the brace in there, and then we're going to build the fence to go across there. But right now we're putting in a gate here, and then a gate over there. So when you're setting an end post, especially we're going to hang a gate, but any end post you want to put this brace in the middle, right?
Yes, keeps it from just moving. If the post moves an inch at the top, your wires are very loose.
So we're putting a brace wire in there to hold that brace bar in, and that one will look like this.
So the geometry of this is, this post is going to want to go this way because the wire is pulling. This will transfer pressure to there, which will push this post this way. When it does, it pulls on that, which pulls at the bottom, and it makes it solid. They don't. And if this is too steep, like if this was way up there and way down there, that force would shove that post out of the ground.
Especially if it's wet ground?
Yes, if it's wet ground. But if it's too steep, this post will start raising and coming that way. I've had to do it once or twice, so I put them in not very much of an angle.
And then the gate is going to hang on that post, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that's why we put in a nice straight post here. This is an example of what happens when you put your brace in between your second and your end post too steep. The end post gets shoved up out of the ground because there's the leverage on it. It tries to move this way, and when it does, it shoves up out of the ground. They had to put a panel in the corner because the wire is up off the ground. But that's an example of putting the brace in at too steep an angle. That's what happens.
Cal came by to supervise our work. I hope you approve. Looks okay. Thank you.
Some people may think that this is not tall enough fence, and my thought process is, if a cow can jump over a wire that's higher than my armpit, she doesn't need to be on my farm. Rick and I were talking about how big that end post was that we set, and when you look at it, it doesn't look that big. If you lift it, you know it's big. On that fence with the light gate, that's a big enough end post. But I'm going to show you a real end post here at the end of Mom and Dad's lane. Now that's a real end post. I just measured it, and it's 24 inches diameter on the top. That is a real end post. And I would not have had to, but I went ahead and set in a second post and put bracing in. I don't know, there's just something about me. I cannot set an end post without putting bracing on it. That post was probably cut about 25 years ago, because Dad was still able to work with me back then. Had a fence row taken out. That was a huge post. I cut that post, and Dad said, well, why are you cutting that post? Why are you cutting that big thing out of there? And I said, because I can. When I had a young kid helping me, and when we set that post, I actually had to dig the hole with the backhoe, because that's 24-inch diameter post on the top, and it's 30 or 33 inches on the bottom and not completely straight. So it took forever to set that post because we had so much dirt that we had to backfill in, but I just did it to do it and kind of be a conversation piece right here at the end of the lane. So just wanted to add that that's a real post. Well, that's all for now. Today hasn't been too ugly. Let's keep it that way. Take care.